Welcome to the life of a spiritual girl, where I show you how I use spirituality and astrology every day to become the girl of my dreams. Today I'm going to be looking back and reflecting on the month of November to see what the major themes or lessons of this month were, which I feel like is a good habit or practice to develop for anyone really, because things happen and play out in life in certain ways for certain reasons. And sometimes we don't always make the connections or see the messages or lessons and things because we're so busy just living life. But the moments of looking back and reflecting provide so much clarity, understanding, and insights to better understanding ourselves, our lives, and to help us along whatever journey we are on. Whenever I'm reflecting on anything in my life, I always like to use astrology transits as a reference. And if you don't know what transits are, the most simplest way to understand them is to look at them as transitions in our lives based on the position of the sun, the moon, and the planets. I know, it sounds crazy, but yes, you heard it right. The sun, the moon, and the planets all impact us on a daily basis. Now, if you believe in gravity, electricity, and anything else that we can't see, then if you think about it, transits really shouldn't be too crazy of a concept, realistically. You'll also need to know what an astrology chart is. And if you don't, I'll have videos linked in the description box explaining everything. But just know, when we are going through a transit in a specific area of our life, we will often experience a minor or major event, feeling, or emotion around something in that area of our lives. So, looking at the astrology for this month, the sun started off in the sign of Scorpio, which if I look at my astrology chart, I can see that it was transiting through my 8th house. And as you can see, the little sun there, that's representing the sun, and the sun is going to be transiting or moving through this little piece of a pie that you guys see that's labeled number 8. The 8th house is the area that represents transformation, intimacy, mental health, intense or hidden emotions, death, and rebirth. That is the house that is the most hidden, and a lot of the hidden things that reside deep in us or deep hidden things in our life start to come up. It can be an emotional thing for us to face that have to do with these themes. So when the sun is transiting your 8th house, a few, or all of these themes may become more present in your life in either a big or small way. For example, as I mentioned in the last episode of The Life of a Spiritual Girl, towards the end of the last month, which was October, I realized I was going through something similar to an ego death, which pretty much means I was going through an internal conflict between my true self and my ego self. It was like a new version of myself was ready to blossom, but my ego didn't want to let go of the old version of myself and everything it came with. You mean to tell me that I had to let go of the version of myself that was once trendy, relatable, widely accepted, normal to society, that over 100K people had once looked up to and had me flourishing in my career, for a girl who does spiritual practices daily to strengthen her connection to her internal self and God, which I didn't even know until I started, was ironically viewed as dark and maybe even demonic and anti-God. Oh, and if meditating and using cards to get messages from God wasn't enough, to top it all off, she uses the sun, the moon, and the planets to help her understand her life. And get this, she somehow had to start her whole career all over again, rebrand herself, and rebuild a career that helped others on the same journey that she was on. Somehow. Do you see why it was so hard to let my ego self go? Because girl was popping, but she was unhappy and lost because she wasn't listening to her true self, which knew that despite how weird this new version of herself would be to so many, and so many people wouldn't get it, wouldn't see the value, wouldn't see the benefits at first, she knew that she was onto something, that she was on the right path. She knew deep down that one day it would help. It would make an even deeper impact. And dare I say it, change the lives of real people along with herself and not just accumulate views. And that is worth looking weird to most people. I'm an Aquarius after all. We were born to be weird. But we were also born to innovate and make a difference in our community. And that's the beauty of astrology. It's like a friend that you can go to that is always there to remind you of who you are, says the girl with no friends. So to sum up this long explanation, that has been my experience and insights as the sun was going through my 8th house. It kind of felt like the final goodbye to the old version of myself that I no longer identify with. It was like the end or the final stage of this very long journey of a transformation that I have been going through, which, as beautiful as it seems now, like the blossoming of a flower or a caterpillar transforming into a beautiful butterfly, it's been quite the opposite of that. It has been an isolating, very uncomfortable, emotional, frustrating, uncertain, and challenging journey. But last month, I decided to finally surrender to this energetic death and rebirth and stop resisting and trying to control it. I decided to finally have faith and put my trust in God and let the wave of this transformation I have been going through since the beginning of this year, and maybe really since the summer of last year, take me where I needed to go. I even surrendered to the isolation that this transformation has caused and finally accepted that this was just a part of the journey. I had to be isolated, and what I did in the time of isolation would matter the most. Would I sit around and feel sorry for myself that I was a 27-year-old girl who lost one of her favorite people in the world, who didn't have any real friends, or as of now, a successful career? Or would I use this time to dive deeper into my spiritual journey and connect and understand myself better? Luckily, I chose the second option. So the beginning of November was me doing just that, with minimal expectations. I actually started off the month celebrating my boyfriend's birthday by going on a road trip, something we both haven't done in a long time. We decided to go to what is known as one of the most historic and romantic places in America, Charleston, South Carolina, which was so nice and had the best scenery I've probably seen in all the places that I've been to, which doesn't really mean much because I haven't really been to that many places yet. But it was really nice. Our hotel was right in the middle of the city, which was a different but refreshing vibe than what we're used to. I didn't think I would like the city, but it was actually really nice, despite the loud nights. It was pretty cool to be able to people watch from our hotel room and to have everything in walking distance. Plus, like I said, Charleston was so beautiful. It truly felt like we were in another country because of how historical it was. And as a less intense example of experiencing a transformation, I kind of felt like going on this trip transformed my comfort and maybe more like unhealthy attachment to being home, because it reminded me how much I actually do like getting out the house, being in different environments, and having new experiences from time to time when I feel safe. and how it actually recharges my creative battery, which as a creative is very important. Also, during the trip, I saw an email that was from the yoga studio that I usually go to, sharing some pretty exciting announcements. Number one, that they were doing a 30-day yoga challenge, which was the best excuse and push that I needed to finally get me to go back to my yoga classes, because this Aries moon loves a challenge. And something else that is so exciting that I've been looking forward to, and it was confirmed, they announced that they were going to be having another yoga teacher training. And if you guys have been watching my old videos where I missed the first yoga teacher training, and I was so sad because I couldn't afford it and everything like that, I knew that they were going to be doing another one, and I've been trying to save. If you would like to support me, or if you would like to help fund my yoga teacher training class or anything else I decide to do, and to be along for the whole journey, feel free to donate to my Patreon, or just join the Patreon, which $20 may seem like a lot, but it costs $25 for me to do my yoga class. And I actually know that I'm going to be providing so much information on a monthly basis that is going to be well worth a class. So anyways, Patreon is linked in the description box below if you would like to help me out. No pressure, by the way. I just feel like I'm trying to get better with like asking, because I feel like it's very uncomfortable. It's just kind of like, if you don't ask, how will you receive, So no pressure, but it's something that I just thought I would throw out there. So yeah, I'm really excited about both of those things, and something inside of me just feels like December and January are going to be very important months for me, but I also feel like simultaneously I'm going to be putting in a lot of work. So I feel like this important and maybe potentially rewards that I'm going to be receiving in these couple of months is going to take also a lot of discipline and some work on my part as well. So I don't know, manifesting. So I actually did join the yoga challenge this month, which started on November 15th, but we'll get to that in a second. I also ended up going to a meditation class that I've never been to before, and the focus / the message of that class and what we were going to focus on throughout our meditation practice was finding the light in dark times or dark moments, which is definitely an 8th house theme, with it being, like I said, the darkest, the most hidden house or area in our chart, besides the 12th house, which one day we'll talk about. And also, funny enough, the instructor was a Scorpio. And I only know that because she told us. But yeah, I really enjoyed the class. It was a nice experience. Another interesting thing that happened in November was during one of my spiritual practices, I pulled this card, which was titled Sage. The deck is called the Archeo, and it has like different archetypes throughout it. So after reading the card and the message, I decided to obviously do more research on the Sage archetype, and I came across an article that I will link in the description box below called The Sage Archetype, a Guide. I'll read a little bit of what it says about it because it freaked me out. The Sage archetype is a seeker of truth, wisdom, and knowledge. The sage engages in meaningful introspection and self-reflection, and strives to understand the world and its mysteries. The sage is not satisfied with superficial answers or opinions, but rather wants to discover the underlying principles and facts behind everything. The sage archetype is often associated with the spiritual aspect of personality, as it represents the quest for enlightenment and transcendence. The sage does not seek material wealth or power, but rather the inner growth and development of the self and others. The sage believes that the truth will set us free, and that knowledge is the key to happiness and fulfillment. As part of this, the sage shares their wisdom with others to help them achieve their goals. Is that not creepy or what? That sounds exactly like me. And probably some of you too out there. If you found my videos, it's obviously for a reason. We obviously share some similarities. And actually, in the description of the meaning of the card that I had pulled from the deck itself, it mentioned the name Siddhartha, which I didn't know this at the time, so I looked it up. It's actually the name of the Buddha. Like, what the heck? So then obviously that led me into a super deep dive, another Scorpio theme, on the Buddha and Buddhism. And that's how I discovered the article. It just pretty much explains the mixture between spirituality and astrology and everything like that. It was just so insightful. It's just so crazy how there's so much information out there that pretty much shows how things in life that don't seem real are real, but yet so many people just either don't want to believe it, or, and maybe I get it because it took me a while to open my mind. You know, it's a choice. Opening your mind is a choice. Okay, you know, it's easy sometimes to not like want to rethink the way that you grew up thinking, you know, like I know it's a lot, but anyways, I'll link that in the description box below. And this is why I don't like to identify, or I don't want to put like I believe in God. I don't want to put a label, because reading about Buddhism and everything like that, I resonated with a lot of the things that they practice and how they live and everything like that, because it's very spiritual. Moving on. I also went to the doctor this month to get a new EpiPen, which I have to carry with me because I have a nut allergy. EpiPen pretty much is the thing that you inject in yourself if you ever have an allergic reaction. That's like one of my biggest fears. It's crazy that I decided to get it this month. This is kind of embarrassing for me to say, but November is like the one time that I know that, okay, I'm going to my mom's house, I'm going to this person's house, they know about my allergies and stuff, but I don't know, I just have a big fear of having an allergic reaction, and it's been like a thing that I actually want to look into. It's a part of my healing journey. Yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to be able to eat the food comfortably this year and not worry about, oh shoot, I have an expired EpiPen, what if I actually need it and it actually doesn't work, blah 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 blah. The long train of anxious thoughts, you know. Time goes on. November 15th comes, which was actually one of the most important dates, I guess, of this month for many reasons. First, it was day 1 of my yoga day challenge, so I was excited about that. But number 2, it was also the beginning of a new habit that I want to start implementing into my weekly routine, and that's having a rest day. And yes, I have to schedule in a rest day for myself to actually force myself to rest, because I have a bad habit of not knowing how to rest, not knowing how to shut off my mind, unless I'm meditating, you know, which has definitely helped me be able to like center myself and shut my mind off. How my mind works, I have to schedule times for stillness and rest, or I'm not gonna do it. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, I've started to realize the magic in being still and resting and self-care and doing your spiritual practices. That has to do with like this new journey that I'm on, the spiritual journey and everything like that. It's like I'm so excited to share it now that I've learned, and you know, I see how real it is and how it can really change a person's life. I'm like excited to just document it so I can have it out there for you all in the collective and other people. But I also have to realize, like, you need to have times, instead of trying to film everything or edit everything and work all the time, you need to have moments of just not doing anything so you can allow yourself to feed back into yourself. So on this day, I rested, I ate healthy food. I actually read a book, which I haven't done in a long time. I slept, I took a nap, which I also don't do at all really. I cleaned, and I did something else that I didn't really think I was gonna do. I cried a lot because I had received a box with my grandma's stuff in it, which I should have known. I don't know, sometimes, you know, as I'm still obviously going through grief, you know, think grieving it's going to be like a lifelong thing. It comes and goes in waves. But obviously there's still not a day that goes by that I don't think about my grandma. And sometimes I surprise myself by how emotional I still can get when I talk about her and think about her. Like even now I feel myself like, I feel myself, if I allow myself to go there, I can feel that wave or that feeling in the back of my eyes and stuff. But yeah, I guess I don't know what I thought. I just didn't expect to be as emotional opening her stuff and seeing her stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. But yeah, I was really emotional. Then later in the day, like the best timing ever, it was time for me to go to my first yoga class of my 30-day challenge. So I pretty much documented every day that I went to the yoga class and how it went, and I'll share more of that throughout December. Along with a bunch of other things as well. But then, guess what else I did this month? I freaking went to one of my favorite artists' concerts. I went to go see Doja Cat, which I'm also gonna have a separate video on because I have so much to say about her and the concert. But let's just say it was quite the experience, okay? And of course I had to end Scorpio season with a big bang because it's Scorpio season, and Scorpio is all about hidden emotions. I mean, it technically rules the 8th house, but we're not gonna go there. But anyways, so yeah, at the end of November, I had a very emotional day. I mean, the emotions was just flowing, and it also didn't help that I was on the first day of my period. The poor thing was an emotional mess. Okay, so yeah, I'll have all those videos, more on that, I'll share more of that on here, and like obviously the more intimate things on my Patreon. But then hallelujah, the sun goes into the sign of Sagittarius on November 22nd and transits into my 9th house of expansion, higher education, higher learning, philosophy, travel, culture, different cultures, adventure, seeking out your journey to uncover yourself, to master yourself, all of that, self-mastery, all of that. And a couple days after that, it was Thanksgiving, which I spent with my boyfriend's mom, and then we ended up going to my family's house, and I ate some amazing vegan food, and it was a good time. I actually did go to my mom's house the day before Thanksgiving, and I helped her prepare some of the foods, the meals. I mean, really, I only helped prepare the desserts, which I made myself, actually. Some vegan red velvet allergen friendly cupcakes, and I made a carrot cake for the first time as well. And I was so grateful, as I'm always very grateful for the food and my family. And obviously this year was very different, not having my grandma around, but I made sure to have some time with her in prayer, and just telling her how thankful I was of her. She knows I talk to her every day, and by talking to her I just talk out loud, and I know she's there, and I know she was with us during Thanksgiving as well. I also took a yoga class, and we kind of wrote out our thanks, and I kind of took a moment to be thankful of this community that I have right now, like you guys. Even though I am starting over, I still have like a group. I know a good 100 of you that are there. I always look at it like having my own little class. If 100 people showed up to my class, like a yoga class or something like that, I would be like floored, So sometimes, social media can make you be so wrapped in the numbers. And, if I learned anything on my journey, numbers do not matter. It's the connections that you make, and like the lifelong connections, dedicated supporters and internet friends, really. So and maybe one day future in real life connections. You never know what happens, in life. So I'm grateful for you guys. I'm also grateful to be able to even focus on doing this right now, although I'm kind of taking a huge risk. I'm grateful for having the strength to take this risk, I guess, on myself. And so yeah, follow my Patreon. Donate on my Patreon. I'm laughing, but I'm really like, if you guys know me, I don't really care about money. I just know I've learned that you need money, and it's important to like ask for it and ask for help, because I think I've went through my whole career of like trying to downplay how important money was, and I'm always like that. But I mean, like, money is important. So a girl has to be on her entrepreneur status, and I have to like not be uncomfortable with like promoting my stuff, you know? And then lastly, I wasn't able to celebrate the Gemini full moon, which I really wanted to, but I had a very unexpected family emergency that came up in the past week that was actually really scary. But thankfully, everything is better now. And the crazy thing about this is that it happened this is going to be something that only the astrology nerds would understand. But this happened during the recent Mars Cazimi in Scorpio. And it also happened during Sagittarius season. And the person that was involved was a Sagittarius with a Scorpio Mars. So yeah, I'm just happy that everything is okay now and is looking up now. And but with all that being said, remember that there are tools placed in our lives to help and guide us along our journeys. Nothing is a coincidence, and most things that happen in life is meant to either bring something to our attention, to create change, or in the words of Scorpio, to transform us. But it's up to us to pick and choose what we use. But it must start with having faith. And faith is believing what you can't always see. But there are always messages. It just takes some moments of reflection. See you tomorrow.